going on, Jerome's? It's a beautiful Wednesday, and the Vikings are back at practice Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, ahead of their Sunday showdown in the NFC North Division on the road against the crooked Chicago Bears. Kevin O'Connell fed the local media jackals. Also, it's funny, there's such a distinct difference in the questions that are asked when the TV people are there versus just the beat writers. It's kind of like night and day. Anyways, but Kevin O'Connell, more importantly, hat model is back. I feel like maybe through the grapevine, Kevin O'Connell got word of our bullying that, hey, put a lid on it. So ball cap, hoodie, puffy vest, look like every single dad at travel hockey games. Anyways, O'Connell said some stuff and some things, so let's go. Nick Muse, your company's computer guy, has 21-day practice window open as he looks to come back from injured reserve. Could be important since Josh Oliver got dinged up, but the Vikings back to having some very solid tight end depth. Didn't mention Oliver, so it seems like his ankle injury may be minor, but we'll see what happens with the practice reports this week. Also, the Vikings wrapping up a 3-game road trip, trying to secure no loss November. Yeah, but O'Connell also preached that winning a game in the National Football League is tough. Even on the road, doesn't matter who your opponent is, but a total team performance is out there. And we pointed this out earlier on the community tab that outside of the Texans game, like there hasn't been a game where the Vikings have fired on all cylinders, right? And you could say that perfection even. Just see that? Yeah, the video is perfect until then. But perfection, it's unattainable, but you should still strive to try and to attain the unattainable. Something like that, right? And it just gives you chills. So the Vikings are still 8-2. The 2 games that they lost, mainly self-inflicted wounds. Like the Vikings easily coulda, shoulda, woulda beat the Lions. Can't wait for Week 18 and the playoffs. As well as the Rams game. They pointed the face mask, but the Vikings just sort of gave that game away. Yeah, it happens, man. But the complete team performance is out there, and ideally it would be in the playoffs and the Super Bowl one time. NFC North road game coming up, always difficult. Caleb Williams showing off the traits from the draft. Connection with Rome Odunze is obvious as well. And O'Connell talked about how he's been a huge Keenan Allen fan for years. Of course, Allen with the Los Angeles Chargers for a number of years. Kevin O'Connell out in there in L.A., same stadium with the Rams, as well as Keenan Allen against the Vikings last year. Had like 20 catches, something ridiculous like that, right? Also, interesting aspect of the scouting side. So the scouts get a multi-year head start on prospects, even if they're not draft eligible, writing reports and getting groundwork done. And also, just because the Vikings aren't going to be in range of some players, they still scout every single player extensively because it goes into the dossier, because you could face those players down the line, and tapping into those scouting reports. It's important. Like everything is important, and you see why this damn game is 365 24/7. Also, the Bears' last second loss is the missed field goal or blocked field goal where the Packers illegally contacted the long snapper, as well as, of course, the Hail Mary against the Commies. Shows how hard it is to win in the National Football League. Every single play matters, as well as the Vikings' 2 losses reflect that as well. Just like we said, if Addison clears out on that 3rd and 4 and the Vikings pick that up, they win. And also, if the Vikings didn't have all those self-inflicted wounds against the Rams, they also win. So, it is what it is. Next. Justin Jefferson, he talked about how he affects both sides of the ball, both the Vikings offense and the opposing defenses. And, say what you will, like Jefferson, Jamar Chase. I mean, Jamar Chase is great, don't get me wrong. But Justin Jefferson is gravity. Like, he affects everything. Like, he is Jupiter out there. And teams literally overhaul their defensive scheme for one game against Jefferson. Like, that doesn't happen with Jamar Chase. I mean, teams still have to be very much worried about T. Higgins when he's out there. Also, Darnold did a great job cycling through progressions. Talked about how a couple of Jefferson catches, as well as the Brandon Powell one, where you go 1, 2, 3, and then you cycle back through. Powell was even the 4th progression on one of those plays. So Darnold getting through reads and not target fixating on Jefferson is going to be key for the Vikings' success later on. Also, Sam and his mobility, extending plays, generating explosives, as well as moving the chains, very huge for him against the Titans. Frankly, I think that that was the best game that Darnold has played in a Vikings uniform, and probably his best game as a pro. Also, got into Jefferson versus Cooper Kupp comparisons, and you talked about how Jefferson plays every position. Kupp mainly played in the slot because Kupp was a major part of their run game as well in terms of blocking things up. And then he got a little bit verklempt. Super Bowl memories. 2021, the Rams, and he talked about how in the Super Bowl against the Bengals, the Rams had a bunch of injuries. OBJ tore his ACL. Van Jefferson got dinged up. Higbee got dinged up. So on the fly, they were having to basically draw up stuff in the dirt and do a lot of things that weren't on the play sheets. And it's really kind of cool seeing behind the curtain. Plus, I love how O'Connell downplayed it. The Super Bowl. It's like, it's just the last game that I coached with the Rams. We did. It's a Super Bowl, man. Run game. Have done good against good fronts. We definitely need more of that. And you talked about size disadvantages, and I think that specifically is talking about how the Vikings for years have stocked up on these smaller, outside zone offensive linemen. I think that there's going to be a sea change here this offseason. I think Bradbury's gone. I think they retool things in the middle. But also, no excuse for size disadvantages. Have to execute on the inside. And he was asked specifically, I think it was Chris Long, KSTP, again, one of the TV guys. Has anything surprised you about this team? Nothing has surprised him. And he talked about how, before the start of the season, meeting with the team, laying out expectations, like 8-2 isn't shocking, right? And the fact that the Vikings haven't really lost, but they beat themselves in their two losses, that's certainly there. Also, he took a bit of a fun shot at the national media devoting haircuts, where telling the players don't focus on outside noise before the season. Everyone and their mom had them picked to have 4, 5, 6 wins and blah, blah, blah. Nah. Plus, this one was great. If you bring the best version of yourself, opposition doesn't matter. Right? I think that's a good life philosophy quote. And also, in terms of football, it rings true. Where, every single game is difficult. The opponent always gets a vote. And every single team, no matter how good or bad, they got studs. And they can win on a given day. But I think the Vikings are at a certain talent level where if they play their best version of football, it doesn't matter what the opposition does, because the Vikings will win the day. So there you go. Also, we got into coaching philosophy, getting the best out of each player, being consistent with approach, regardless of result, process over results. I mean, that's a cliche. He even admitted so, but I mean, it is true. And just being consistent with the players and not doing Tuesday morning quarterback, rewatching the film. If the quarterback made a mistake, you can't be like, you don't do that unless it's been covered before. And I think that's a really interesting way of looking at it, where it's like, if you do something wrong that we didn't cover or I didn't tell you not to do, that's on me. That's on coaching. And that's a really mature stance on things, and I wish more coaches took that stance. Also, talked about player ownership of the game plan, and that's something that Flores has talked about too, where players aren't just out there executing a game plan. Do as I say. It's input, and that's what I think that Kevin O'Connell has done great with Darnold. He did great with Kirk Cousins. Like, hey, what do you like? What looks good here? What are you comfortable with? What do you not like? What can we do from there? Where the players have say in the game plan, and Flores does this with the defense as well. So it's really good. Also, funny moment at the end. Dane from Pioneer Press was asking about how Wes Phillips yesterday said that they're using the GoPro on Sam Darnold, and J.J. McCarthy is able to watch everything in real time from a point of from POV. And O'Connell's like, really? Did he? Just giving away state secrets, man. But it's kind of funny. It also proves that Kevin O'Connell doesn't watch the other press conferences. But then he was able to praise the Wilfs ownership for giving the resources needed for the coaches as well as the players to succeed. And that's what's great about the Wilfs, is that the whole GoPro and then VR headset thing, like it ain't cheap. I mean, these teams are billion-dollar industries, but I mean, you've seen how the Cardinals make players pay for dinner. Like some teams are very nickel and dime. We're playing one this weekend with the crooked Chicago Bears. Mike Dick had a great quote from back in the day when he was discussing his contract. He said that George Halas, owner at the time, throws around nickels like they're manhole covers. which is a great line. Absolute great line, man. Also, to tangent off, so I'm friends with a handful of Bears fans, and they're all frustrated because, as you've seen with the Jets, as you've seen with the Raiders, as you've seen with the Cowboys, everything comes down to ownership. It trickles on down. And with the Bears are unique because the McCaskies, Hallises, like their number one business is the team, right? And that's not true for most of the franchises around the league. I mean, like the Wilfs, like most of their wealth comes from real estate, where, the football team, profit is fantastic, but it is more of a sidebar thing. And with the Bears, that's why they're so stingy, because that is the business. Like they don't have Walmart money. They don't have Starbucks or Microsoft money, just like backfilling things. So it's interesting. And then that trickles down into spending in the facility, spending on the team, spending on everything. But the Wolves, we got some good owners. What the hell are we talking about? Oh, yeah. Kevin the Compressor. That's it. That's at KOC, feeding the local media jackals on this beautiful Wednesday. You guys know the best. You know what to do. Skull, production value.